Hey guys, so real quick before we get into the review, I wanted to show y'all something. One thing that you'll see a lot more of on this channel in 2022 is going to be a lot of painting stuff, me painting consoles, and just recently I painted my very first controller. So this is how I painted my PS5 controller. I decided to go with a Scream look because it was timely with this new film coming out, and I am extremely pleased with it. I put up a video on my Twitter and on my Instagram, which you guys can find. It's just at Terminator. And yeah, but I just wanted to show this to you guys real quick. So if you guys would be interested in kind of getting a video on the whole process of that and whatnot, just kind of let me know. And I have a couple more controllers that I want to do. So there will be more painting content to come in the future, but I just wanted to include that as a quick tag on this. And without further ado, let's get into the review of Scream 2022. Scream is a franchise that I'm actually relatively brand new to. I just watched the very first Scream movie for the very first time in October of 2021. I got married on October 15th, and the next day, while on the plane going to our honeymoon in Hawaii, my wife was asleep, and I decided this would be a good time to kind of watch a scary movie since my wife does not like scary films. And so I'm kind of looking at all of the options, and they had the original Scream on the plane, and I was like, I haven't seen this. I knew that this brand new one was coming out, so I was like, sure, let me give this a try. And watching it on the plane, I absolutely fell in love with this movie. I fell in love with the world. I fell in love with these characters. And for the rest of our time in Hawaii, at different points in time, I would just like randomly tell my wife like, oh, and then this happened, and then there was this character, and I loved this plot line, and I probably annoyed her. But when I came back home, I decided to watch the rest of the films before this new one came out. So going into this film tonight, I had been completely caught up, Screams 1 through 4. And of course, with this being the first Scream movie not directed by Wes Craven, I was really curious to see how these directors would take it. I don't know why I had any doubt in my mind at all, because this new Scream film is amazing. And at the end of this review, I will actually give my ranking of all 5 Screams. But for right now, let's go ahead and break down the film. So Scream is known for 2 things in particular, and that is the kills and the commentary. So let's get into those first. Now with the kills, this Scream definitely felt very different when it came to how the killing scenes and how the chase scenes were shot. There was something about the cinematography and the way that the camera moved around the characters in these films that I felt was substantially different from previous films in the Scream franchise, but it was such a good difference. I feel like this is probably the most beautiful looking Scream film that we have, and that is a huge upgrade from Scream Part 4 that had that like weird like glow smudge look to it. I absolutely love just how this film was shot, their use of the camera as the eye for the audience. That was definitely a high pro with this film. Now, as far as the kills themselves, I had heard a lot of reviews about how brutal the kills were, how intense they were, and I can see how they were much more intense for a Scream film, but I'm kind of thinking about, the more modern horror films that have come out, and I mean, to even look back at these directors' previous work, Ready or Not, I don't feel that these kills were really all that brutal, relatively speaking, to what we have in the horror genre space today. Now, that being said, there were some kills that definitely upped the cringe, and I mean that in a good way. There were some kills that, like, while they're happening, just because of how slow kind of Ghostface will kind of, push the knife into a person or the place that they got stabbed. There were a lot of times in this film where I was kind of cringing just at how these people, were kind of being cut. I definitely think that heightened the suspense in the film and really kind of drew out what makes Ghostface terrifying. And then, yeah, probably the thing that Scream is known for more than the kills and the mystery aspect is the commentary and how they address, what's going on in horror films today. And I gotta say, I think this Scream film had the best commentary out of all Scream films, including the original. I just really liked the way in which they kind of brought that commentary in to the plot, into the characters, and into this kind of more technological age. I just felt like it felt so much more kind of fluid and organic, and I think they did this a lot in the most recent Scream as well. That like in today's time, you do have people that are like complete experts when it comes to like a whole genre of film, right? And you go back to the very first Scream movie, and I feel like what made Randy stand out so much and what made him such a lovable character is like how much he knew about this, that in today's time there are a ton of Randys, right? And in fact, this film includes two twins that are the niece and nephew of Randy, and they were some of the film's highlights to me. And his niece, I'm totally blanking on her name right now, but the niece character gives this excellent monologue about, you know, horror films and what they mean to people and what it means to be in a horror film today and how the horror genre has changed, and just 100% everything that she said I felt so connected to, and I definitely resonated with it. Me being someone who grew up watching a lot of horror films and a lot of genre films, and so I just want to commend them and applaud them on that. I thought that they did a great job. But now kind of moving on, so with each Scream film there's to some extent a new cast, and I think that this film is kind of the greatest departure from the original characters that we know. The original characters definitely play a much smaller role in this film by a long shot, but at the same time, this new cast of characters, I felt they were a very welcome addition to the Scream franchise. A couple of people that I want to shout out, Jack Quaid, who I'm a huge fan of him in the show The Boys, and I felt like he just had this real charm to him. That was a really nice presence on screen. He is the comic relief, I think, for a lot of this film, just because, you know, he has that certain quality to him. And then I also want to shout out Dylan Mignette. I have watched him in a few things, and so I have kind of seen him grow in his career, and him too. Just I was really glad to see him in this film, and I felt like he was a very good match for the Scream franchise. And to be honest, it would be a lot quicker for me to name the people in the cast that did not work the best to me, as opposed to the ones that did. I thought this was a really strong new cast of characters. I thought that they blended, really worked off of the original characters pretty great as well. I was really pleasantly surprised with how much I attached on to this new cast and how much I didn't miss the original characters. Although when they did come on screen, don't get it wrong, I was very happy, especially my man, Detective Dewey. I was very pleasantly surprised and extremely caught off guard with David Arquette in this film and the direction that they take him. It very much felt like Old Man Logan, but still having that Dewey charm, right, that has made this probably like the most lovable character. One thing that I love about the Scream franchise is it's just built different, right? These films have never been a slasher movie just for the sake of being a slasher movie. There's always been something more to it. There's always been a heart underneath all of the blood and the mystery. I love how this film really pulls you in and really gives you time to rest and resonate with these characters. So then when Ghostface does pop up, it does raise the stakes. It does make you anxious because you're like, no, like I just got to know this character a little bit deeper. I don't want them to just like be killed off like right now, right? And then of course we have to talk about the real star of this film, right? Ghostface. I think I do have to say this is my favorite performance by Roger L. Jackson as Ghostface. I feel like they give him so much to do in this film, and especially in the opening scene, they do such a great range with his voice that we have not yet heard. And then the film introduces where they have the voice changing box within the Ghostface costume, so now he can talk directly to the people in Roger L. Jackson's voice, and I absolutely loved that. He is given the opportunity to be so much more, creepy. This film has quite a couple of shots where he's just like slowly walking behind a person, and you see him on frame, the whole time, and for whatever reason, whether that person is hurt or they just don't know that he's there, but you get to see him just kind of, very slowly, very calmly kind of walk up, which to me is much more creepier than the quick, turn around the corner or pop out from here. There's something very menacing about how they do Ghostface in this film that I think if you're a fan of the Scream franchise, you're going to have an amazing time with. Okay, so now for my movie rating. You can click right here to see the whole video of our movie rating system. But just to recap, we have a total of 6 terms. We have that a movie was so bad it should be terminated. We have a movie that we saw, but I would rather be doing anything else. We have our category of meh, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. And then we have our category of date night. And then above that is collector's edition. And then above that is legendary. That is the top tier, the best of the best. A film that is going to change the film landscape, and a film that I can't wait to introduce it to my kids. And I will say that the original Scream film falls in the legendary category. That is one that I can't wait to, introduce to my kids when they hit, their teenage years or whatnot. But for this movie, for Scream 2022, I am happily going to put this in the collector's edition category. I'm just so glad that I came upon this film franchise. I wish I had seen these movies a lot earlier, but you know what? Better late than ever. And now, as promised, my Scream 5 film ranking. Starting at the top, I still think we have Scream number 1. You can't mess with a classic. But coming in second place, I would put Scream 2022. I think it's just that good, and I think it is a solid addition to this franchise that Wes Craven would absolutely be proud of. Next, in third place, we have Scream number 4. I absolutely loved this film. I think it really went back to what made the original as great as it did, and it kept that, and then it built on top of it. Those top 3 films, they're all pretty neck and neck. They're all relatively close to each other, just in my personal opinion. And then coming in fourth place, we have Scream 2. I did like Scream 2. I did not love Scream 2. I didn't love the reveal of who the killers were at the end. Fifth place, I would have to say Scream 3. It being at the bottom, it's still what I would call a good film, and I would put Scream 3 above many third installments in a horror film franchise. So don't get it twisted. I'm definitely not hating on Scream 3 in any way, but when you have a film franchise as amazing and strong as this, one of them has to be at the bottom, right? But in the comments, let me know what you thought of Scream 2022. Let me know your ranking of all the Scream films. And because I have to, what is your favorite scary movie? But thank you so much for watching this review. My name is Teo, and until next time, hasta la vista.